Peace, and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. Folks, we got a lot to talk about. First, let's talk about what's going on in the state of Michigan as those school shooters' parents has officially been sentenced. We'll give you the latest on that situation. Also, we're going to be checking in with Professor Iron Sinwright and Mr. Jesse Gilbert to talk about their new book, The Secret Life of Data, and why it's important for us to be more mindful about where we're spending our data and putting it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that later on. I check in with music insider Tasha Love to talk to us about this JCole, Kendrick Lamar situation, but more importantly, how JCole's decided to bow out gracefully and the impact that has on hip-hop. Also, let's talk about what some of the controversial comments made from icon Billy D. Williams about blackface. You don't want to miss that part of the discussion. Folks, stay with us. It's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. All right, folks, welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. It is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, folks, April 9th, 2024. Man, oh man, we got a lot to talk about. First and foremost, we are streaming live on a number of different spaces and platforms. But first, check out our home platform of blackstarnetwork.com. Just go to our website today, download the app for free, and make sure you follow us on social media at Black Star Network. And we ask for you to put something in the bucket. And for all of those who have already donated, we cannot thank you enough for your support. And for those who are thinking about donating, make sure you make that decision to say, you know what, I'm gonna move forward with this because we need you as an investor and a stakeholder. But more importantly, we want you to join us in this mission to take digital media to the next level. So again, go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Also, folks, we are streaming live on Amazon platforms and your Amazon Fire TV. Make sure you check us out on Amazon News. We're also on Amazon Prime Video, and you can find us on the Prime Video app under Live TV The News, or find us on Amazon.com under Video and Live TV The News. We're also on the Freeview Network, where you can find us on now under News for Free, and on Plex TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just find us on Plex TV. And just search for Black Star Network. Or find us under Live TV, The News, and Opinions. Now, we also streaming on Big Brother Roland Martin's social media spaces and pages. So you can find us on his Facebook page. And big shout out to the online culture crew right there on Facebook, as well as on his YouTube channel. And big shout out to the crew right there as well. Always checking in from around the country. And I see all of y'all. So thank y'all so much, as always, for being a part of the conversation. Brother Damon, Tiana, Pauline Hurt, Cindy D, Nicole Smith, AB the Don, Lori Parks, Cindy D. Who else we got in here? Deidre Hall, I see you. Thank you, as always, for checking in and being with us on the show today. And we'll make sure we do our best to get to all of your comments as we have these conversations. First and foremost, let's talk a little bit about this situation out of the state of Michigan, as the parents of the school shooter, Ethan Crumbley, has officially been sentenced, folks. And this is an important case because this is the first case where the parents have been held responsible and liable in a school shooting. And if you remember this case, this is the case of the young man who went into the school. He had some problems in school. His parents bought him a gun and recklessly went into the school. Not only did the parents' reckless decision lead to this tragedy, but he also made the decision to use the gun. And even in spite of warnings and in spite of conversations that were had with both the school officials and parents, Ethan Crumbley still set out on his nefarious deed and became another school shooting. So they have officially been sentenced. They're looking at 10 to 15 years, and they are looking at 10 to 15 years in prison. They were found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in separate trials earlier this year, but now they have been sentenced together. And the family members of the 4 students were killed in the 2021 shooting, addressed the parents during the sentencing hearing, with one father telling the couple, "The blood of our children is on your hands." Now, this is a case, their cases stand as, according to legal experts and gun law advocates and those who are in the conversation about gun use and gun responsibility. They're saying that this is the first time a parent of a school shooter has been held directly responsible for such killings. So this case will set a precedent moving forward, as that's what a lot of legal folks are saying, that this case will be setting the precedent. And I want to kind of get your take on this very quickly, crew, that how do you feel about this whole process? Now that this conviction has been made, 10 to 15 years, do you feel like justice has been served? Post your comments in the chat. We would love to hear directly from you. I'm going to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's get to some of your comments as we talk about the parents of school shooter Ethan Crumbley, how they have officially been sentenced to 10 to 15 years today. And what does that mean for the larger conversation about gun laws, gun reform, and gun usage? So, folks, stay with us. The conversation continues on the other side here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. He stoked racial violence, attacked voting rights, and if reelected, vowed to be a dictator and, quote, get revenge. We can't go back. As president, I put money in pockets, creating millions of new jobs, and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Game on. State of the Union 2024. Huge night for President Joe Biden.
This was a CVS receipts type of night.
He dragged the hell out of the Supreme Court. And he said, y'all gonna see the power of women.
Trump's brain is melting as we speak.
We want to organize from a place of strength.
There's no confusion whatsoever about what they've done and what they plan to do.
What Donald Trump is doing is presenting a fallacy.
He is convincing them that he's all in it for them, when in fact he's all in it for himself.
We do not feel Joe Biden, in spite of the success that have taken place during this administration economically. There are too many things where we do not feel like he's had our back.
You should also be investing in the barbershops and the beauty salons and the hookah bars and the folks who are going to the club, and there's a way to actually get them registered because we've done it before. But if you don't have folks who understand that dynamic, then you're missing a big opportunity.
So we said we just celebrated. For what? Why don't you go to Selma to celebrate rather than recommit yourself to the fight if the very thing we went to celebrate has been gutted?
Republicans did not support a lot of the bills that were necessary to keep the country fluid. You can't only love your country when you win, right?
Oh, no. You guys don't want another $2 trillion tax cut?
This was absolutely the knockdown, drag out that we were really waiting.
Black voters are the base. They're the most important base of the Democratic Party. There was very few language in this speech. At the time, we see an attack on Black history, attack on DEI. The end of the BLM racial reckoning thing has come to a complete end because there was nothing in this speech for that.
Our movement has never been grounded in two-party politics in this country. All of our movements ultimately get co-opted by a state that is anti-Black.
They called the old because they knew the way, and they called the young because they were strong. And I believe there is a good combination of that, but we can have ideas and we can have visions and dreams, but we have to have our young people also working beside us because they are strong, and they will run that race, and they will run it to the end.
Activists, organizers, and young people have been pushing this administration to be on the right side of history and to do something about the issues that they care about.
While the Ukraine and Palestine are critical issues, they are not the only global issues.
Not a single black person who should ever let it come out their mouth that I'm tired. Because there is somebody else who came before us who didn't stop fighting.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation. We're just talking a little bit about the latest coming out of the state of Michigan, where the parents of Ethan Crumbley has officially been sentenced, folks, for the acts of their son, Jennifer and James Crumbley, the parent of the Michigan school shooter who went into his school back in 2021, killing 4 students on a rampage, has been found responsible, guilty, and have been sentenced as a result of this. These are the parents right here, folks. These are the parents. And y'all remember, they are the ones who provided the gun. Even though that there was some conversation about his health and mental health and well-being and all of those things, they were the ones that provided the gun. Now, this case is major, and this is why we've been following this case. It's just because this is the first major case where parents are going to be held, where parents are held responsible for the actions of their children. Imagine if that was the case for other situations, but for this particular situation, this was the first case to happen, especially a first case where the parents are not charged, convicted, and sentenced. And this is going to set the tone. Now, the question becomes, how much of a tone will it set, not just in the state of Michigan, but across this country, especially in given our conversations about gun laws, gun reform, gun usage? How will this impact all of those discussions? And do we expect to see some decline in gun sales? Do we expect to see more laws that require more red tape? In some states, you can buy a gun as young as 18 years old. So should we expect some significant changes, or will this case happen? We talk about it for the day, talk about it for the week, and then it kind of dies down, but nothing substantial change. All right, let me go to hearing what y'all have to say about this as we talk about these issues. And big shout out to the online culture crew. Let me go to Lori Parks. You said, what about all the other parents whose children were involved during mass shootings? Where are the charges against Kyle Rittenhouse mother, who drove her son across state lines and ended up killing people? Excellent question, Lori. Excellent question. I don't think any particular laws or anything are like retroactive, but those are excellent questions. And that's a great point to bring up. What happens now that we've had school shootings all over this country, and we've had a number of them, hundreds of them actually, of mass shootings, not just school shootings, but mass shootings, and we talked about that. But that's a great question. What happens now? Well, it may take this particular case to get the ball rolling in a different direction about how we have the conversation about school shootings, mass shootings, gun laws, and everything. Sean Ryan, you said, did the parents give him the gun? Yes. Yes. They're the ones that are responsible, Sean. They're the ones that are responsible. And it was a reckless decision because Ethan Crumbley had some mental health issues. The school was put on notice. Folks in the school knew. The parents didn't know. I guess they didn't know. I guess they didn't know what was going on in the heads of their son, what's going on in his classroom, his friendships, and all of those things. But yeah, they provided it. Cindy D, you checked in. Thank you, Sean, for the question. You said someone needs to be held accountable. Parents are not doing enough to stop these shootings. We already know Congress is doing nothing. If enough white parents go to jail, the law will change. I see what you're saying. School shootings are still considered one of those things that we don't see Black teenagers doing. However, it's still a problem because it shines a light on the lax laws that are across this country, especially in some of these Republican-controlled states around gun issues and gun laws. So it's interesting that a case like this will come up, and then next thing you know, there's a call for more, for less reform, for less oversight. And so this is very, very interesting. So I'm going to, and I want us to kind of keep in mind as folks are having the conversation. This sentencing came down earlier today. So as folks are having this conversation, how it's going to impact Black communities, often marginalized communities, Latino communities, like for those of us who are on the other side of this, right, where we are often, what's the word I'm looking for, y'all? We're the ones profiled. We're the ones seen as the problem. We're public enemy number one. It's going to be interesting to see how this country reacts to this particular decision, this conviction, and how are this going to move forward. Very, very interesting. Look, I got to take another quick pause. When we come forward, we're going to switch gears. Let's go from talking about gun issues and parenting to now let's talking about data. We're going to keep checking in with two men who wrote the book, The Secret Life of Data, as they give us some insight as to what we're seeing on social media, on computers and technology, the wave that is happening, and are we safe? Can we protect not just our image, but our information and so much more online? Stay with us. That conversation is up next here on The Culture on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. As president, I put money in pockets and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together.
I need you to scream for your new beginning. 5, 4, 3, 2. I need you to shout for it. I need you to shout for it. It won't always be like this. Sooner or later, it's gonna work in your brother's favor, in your sister's favor. They shall not die. They shall not die. They shall not die. I want you to embrace somebody and tell them welcome to the greatest season of your life. Hug somebody. Welcome.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad. Thank you so much for joining me. Let us now switch gears. Let's talk about technology, and more importantly, let's talk about data, the secret life of data. This is the title of the new book coming from Iron Sinwright and Jesse Gilbert. They talk a little bit about where we are going in technology, from AI to everything else, social media, so much to talk about. And so I'm very, very excited to have Professor Iron Sinwright and Jesse Gilbert joining me today to talk about this work. Professor Jesse, thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
Doing fine. How are you, Farajii?
Good. We're good. Good. Jesse, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit first about what was the inspiration behind writing this book, The Secret Life of Data? Why write a book about data?
Well, so Jesse and I have known each other for a long, long time. We actually met way back when in high school. We're both from Brooklyn. And for years and years and years, we've been talking about, having an ongoing conversation about the ways in which technology changes society, changes culture, changes our sense of who we are. And as we become professional researchers and professional builders and experts in technology, we more and more felt like what we were seeing happening was not being reflected in the larger conversation. Like everyday, average, ordinary people do not understand how much of their personal and intimate lives are being collected by these data organizations and used to analyze them, to predict our behaviors, to influence our behaviors, and to make money off of our backs without us participating in it. So we wanted to write a book that would speak to everybody about this subject in a kind of clear, straightforward way, using lots of interviews with other experts, using lots of engaging stories from the real world that people could connect with. And so we wouldn't have to think in abstract terms about these kind of big tech issues.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you for saying that, Professor. Jesse, we are living in a time where now the relationship is that we have with technology.
Farajii, I can't hear you.
I think I lost your audio. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
I have something I want to tell you. I am running for president.
Of the United States? Holy.
I'm paving the road for a lot of other people looking like me to get elected.
Brooklyn's first black representative.
You're about to make history.
You want to be president? You ain't no man.
Maybe we should find your mother. All you got is your one vote.
You sound just like every other politician.
Do I look like every other politician?
Truly, you can't win.
And why can't I win? I have an opportunity to make a difference.
This isn't a campaign. It's a joke. The only thing anybody's gonna remember is that there were a bunch of black folks who made fools of themselves. I'll kill you!
See too much suffering. And I don't know how to not try.
We're living it proud.
I don't think I'm special. I just want to remind people what's possible.
We need something that's going to make some noise.
The Black Panthers and Shirley Chisholm. It's like thunder and lightning. I'm going to force all the politicians to be held accountable.
You're gonna do all that. School teacher from Brooklyn.
Harriet was just a slave. Rosa was just a domestic. What is it you do for a living again? The people of America are watching us.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now
We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, and just had to get the bugs out of our system as we talk about technology today with our very special guests, Hiram Sinwright and Jesse Gilbert, the authors of the book, The Secret Life of Data. Now, this is a book that talks about our relationship to technology in many different spaces and layers. And so I wanted to just pose this question to you, Jesse, because we know that our relationship with technology is one that is fun. It can be exciting. There are a lot of opportunities, but there are great uncertainties. And I'm referring back to the moment where we saw technocrats like Mark Zuckerberg and others on Capitol Hill who had to confront the families of those who have become victimized due to Facebook and other platforms. But it just goes to show that we still don't have a grip. That this is like a Frankenstein situation where the government doesn't have too many regulations. There's not enough conversations about it. I mean, this is on both sides of the aisle, both Republicans and Democrats. And technocrats like a Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and others, they are shaping the context and the conversation about everything from politics to health and education. And I read one article, I think this was in The Atlantic. It was saying, yeah, this is The Atlantic. It was talking about that these gentlemen have more power than presidents of small countries. And so, Jesse, talk to us about this. Like, how do we navigate through all of that?
Well, I mean, I think your point is really important here. Part of what the premise of the book is that actually these issues and the way that technology develops, really it becomes amplified by the fact that we're living in a globally networked society now, right? So when the internet was first, brought to us, and product like Facebook or YouTube, or Google, all of these felt like individually separated services. This has really scaled now, right? So the entire world is connected. We conduct our, business, our private communications. Our healthcare, our financial decisions are all centralized into technology and into these global networks. And so when we're faced with, for example, a product like a Facebook, which, is offering a quote unquote free service, we need to start asking ourselves the question of, what are we giving up? What are they gaining from access to us, from our relationships? And I think that, part of the reason we wrote the book was to try to really lay things out, as Aram said, in straightforward language, because a lot of the language around technology is pretty exclusionary. There's a lot of tech talk, a lot of acronyms, things that's shorthand for people in the know already, but actually, a lot of what really needs to happen is that we need more people involved in this conversation. We need to find ways to break through some of the roadblocks and the people who are taking advantage of these platforms don't really want us to have that knowledge and to communicate with each other and to get smart about how we use technology. And I think that that's really, ultimately why I think we're writing the book and why we want to have this conversation as widely as we can.
I mean, I think it's an important conversation, but Professor, I'm wondering, is this like pushing a boulder up to the side of the hill? Because the influence, the power, and more importantly, the attitudes around technology are just so overbearing that people may not want to hear straight talk. People may not want to even, entertain the idea that they're willingly giving up sensitive information, all in the name of posting something, all in the name of putting something on there, that people don't want to think about the quote unquote consequences of this. So are we doing? Are y'all doing a certain level of disservice to people, kind of ruining the fun?
I mean, I think for a lot of people, the fun has already ended, right? Like for those of us who are old enough to remember the internet 15 years ago, it was a totally different animal. Now it almost feels like, we have to keep up. Like, our friends are on Insta showing us their best lives, and our colleagues are on LinkedIn showing off their credentials, and we've got to be up there just to kind of keep up. And that's not fun. That's like a struggle. And that's extra labor on us that ends up creating profits in the pockets of people like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. I think, we got very depressed while we were working on this book. Like, it was just like story after story after story that was just like, oh my God, I can't believe these people are doing this with technology. How are we ever going to get out from under this giant foot? And so we ended up making the decision to spend a lot of the end of the book focused on like positive things that people are doing to reclaim power and ultimately reclaim humanity in the face of this kind of datafication of our lives. And we actually came up with a bunch of really interesting and valuable examples. Everything from people changing the way that they dress and speak and look to resist kind of the technological lure, to people advocating for new laws and policies like the one that we see Congress considering right now that would create data privacy laws for all Americans at the federal level, to new technologies of resistance where people are using not just VPNs, but more kind of interesting ways of fighting back against big tech extracting data from them every time they do anything or go anywhere or say anything. And so, there's a lot of great examples that we can follow. And in a lot of cases, it's actually more fun to fight back than it is to just kind of roll over and take it.
So should we be afraid at this point, Professor Jesse? Should we be in a space where, and there's a lot of fear. It's like all or nothing right now. And I know that I follow an organization on X platform that advocates for responsible relationships and responsible use of technology. But should we be afraid at this point, Jesse?
I think we need to be watchful, and I think we need to talk to each other. I think we need to really, have our eyes open as to what is possible and some of the really bad ideas that are circulating right now. If you look at, the use of technology in law enforcement, for example, I think there's very good reason to be afraid, concerned, and active and involved in this conversation, because I think that, a lot of what I think has emerged, in, at least for me in writing the book and talking to all these different experts and thinking about this so much lately is, a lot of this is governed by our shared sense of ethics about technology, which really is still emerging, right? This is all pretty new. We're in a lot of legal gray areas. I think that also points to the fact that we have the power to shape the conversation much more than we have. And I think that, ultimately, the more people that are involved in that conversation and that really, that we hold people accountable, we hold companies accountable, we enlist our representatives to actually be involved in crafting common sense legislation around privacy, around, the rights of individuals in the face of these big corporations. I think that there's reason, as Aram said, to be optimistic, but we have to be active.
Is there, and I want, we got to take another pause, but I'm wondering for Black people in this country, for Latinos, for groups of people who have often been on the fringe or often been marginalized when we see things like this happen, what type of concerns or rather challenges should we expect in our relationship and uses of technology now? Because we're finding, have you found that certain messages and certain ways of handling Black America's data is different from how it's handled by white American? I want to get your take on that on the other side, guys. So just stick with us. Stay with us, folks. Join us in the conversation as we check in with Iron Sinwright and Jesse Gilbert, the author of the book. These two guys wrote a book called The Secret Life of Data. And it's about everything from generative AI, about data collection, and so much more, and why it's important for us to have this conversation about our relationship with technology. We're going to continue the discussion on the other side. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. He stoked racial violence, attacked voting rights, and if reelected, vowed to be a dictator and, quote, get revenge. We can't go back. As president, I put money in pockets, creating millions of new jobs, and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Terry and I, we couldn't play in the white clubs in Minnesota. It felt like such a, strength through adversity type moment that I think Black people just have to go through. We have to figure it out.
Right.
We make lemons out of lemonade. But there's a reason we rented a ballroom, did our own show, promoted it, got like 1,500 people to come out. Clubs were sitting empty. They were like, "Where's everybody at?" And I said, "They're down watching the band you wouldn't hire." So it taught us not only that we had the talent of musicians, but we also had to have the talent of entrepreneurship. It wasn't like a seat at the table. It's like, no, let's build the table.
That's right.
We got to build the table. And,
That's right.
And that was the thing. And of course, after that, we got all kinds of offers.
Of course.
Right, to come play in the clubs. But we didn't do it. We
You're
said,
like, no, we good.
No, we're good. We're good. And that's what put us on a path of national. And of course, when Prince made it, then it was like, okay, we see it can be done.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm checking in with two dynamic guys who wrote a very, very important book for our time. I'm talking to Iram Sinreich and Jesse Gilbert, who are the authors of the book, The Secret Life of Data, Navigating Hype and Uncertainty in the Age of Algorithmic Surveillance, folks. Now, this may sound like, oh, well, this is a lot of big words, this is a lot of stuff. But these guys actually wrote a book that you can read about technology. They break it down. They have numerous conversations with experts and those in the tech field about what is happening in America. What is our relationship to technology and so much more? And I want to get back to that question because around how Black America uses technology, the relationship there. And did you find, Professor and Jesse, did y'all find like that there were some targeted marketing that was being done, that the way that the data that comes from Black America is handled differently or is targeted in a different way than it is for white America? Are you seeing those type of racial components even in technology? Professor, I want to get your take on that, please.
Oh, for sure. Basically, every technology that uses data accelerates racism in one way or another, right? So like facial recognition systems are much more likely to misidentify African-American, pedestrians than white pedestrians. And then those false positives get fed into police databases, which means that Black people are going to get arrested more frequently. And when you're arrested and brought to trial, flawed, biased algorithms assign a higher bail to Black people than to white people, controlling for all other variables, which means higher incarceration rates for Black people, which becomes, another kind of like data point in the algorithm that is more likely to identify Black people as criminals in this kind of self-perpetuating cycle. And if it sounds familiar, like the justice system did that before algorithms came along, but algorithms both amplify it and give it this kind of sheen of like, well, computers can't be wrong, so therefore what the police are doing must be right. That is one of many, many, many examples of the ways in which racism gets kind of baked into these systems and taken for granted when police departments, financial services companies, healthcare organizations, educational organizations, and others begin to use these algorithms in the course of doing their everyday business.
And Jesse, how do Black folks in this country, how does, Latino communities, those of us who have often been marginalized by systems already, and now we're in a new space and we're being targeted and marginalized, how do we fight back against that? I think you got on you. Are you on mute?
Sorry about that.
No problem. Go ahead.
I'm here. Yeah, important question. I think that, I think that, again, I think that it's important for us, to educate ourselves about what is happening, to speak truth to power when we can, to advocate for change, to advocate for regulations, to have these kinds of conversations amongst ourselves about what are you seeing, where, how are these things being applied. As Aram said, for example, if you look at the amplification of bias, in everyday situations, like, applying for credit or dealing with insurance companies, where, now we have this sheen of objectivity within these decisions. I think that really one of the things that we are finding is that a lot of these companies that are employing this, they don't want the smoke. They don't want bad press, right? We have to hold them accountable for these biased practices, and we're seeing a lot of that happening in social media, in the online communities that are being formed, such as this network, where we're actually talking about it, and the lived experiences that we're having, these can actually be shared, and we can use that to bring pressure. I think that there's another thing that Aram kind of alluded to, but which we should keep in mind, which is that we need to understand our data footprint. We need to understand some of the tools that are available to us, right? So virtual private networks, for example, which are available for free or low cost. They enable you to interact and transact on a network in an encrypted fashion. They are perfectly legal. Everyone has the right to use them. I don't know, how widely they're used within the African American community, but they should be, because I think that it's something that if we can actually take proactive steps and at least make it harder for the casual criminal or the casual law enforcement agent to look at our data, I think that we need to be smart about how we use technology now. And there are tools available that we can use to do that. We just have to find them.
Oh, no, I totally agree. And I love how in your description for the book, when you're talking about it, it says the secret life of data focuses primarily on the long-term consequences of humanity's recent rush toward digitizing, storing, and analyzing every piece of data about ourselves and the world we live in. And I love that because it really does serve as a synopsis of what we are doing right now. We are rushing to this technology without anyone saying, hey, we might want to slow this thing down a little bit, especially within Black communities and marginalized communities that have been on the fringes of this thing, right? Because it's been presented to us, as you said, Jesse, you're talking about the sheen. If you're an entrepreneur, put your business on social media. If you're a content creator, put your business on social media. If you want to make money, put your business on social media. If you want to talk about your feelings, just go online and talk about it. And it's like everything comes back to the central point, Professor, which is why I've had these conversations. You've been with me for years. We have these conversations because as much as this is a powerful, powerful medium, it does get to the point where you're asking, like, damn, am I doing too much? If I'm putting too much, am I too dependent on this? Because I remember growing up in the 90s, guys. No, life wasn't like this.
It was a different world.
And we're talking about 30 years ago, you know what I'm saying? Like things was different. So let's talk a little bit about this before I just want to get your take on this. Now there's great concern, Professor Jesse, around children and technology. Our children are growing up on iPads. Our children are being exposed from YouTube to everything else. How do we interact? How do we intervene? And more importantly, how do we not create a generation that is going to be so dependent on technology that it won't be able to have a proper relationship with it?
So a lot of those concerns about kids are legitimate, but they're misplacing the blame to a certain extent on the kids and the parents themselves, when it's the system, the larger system, that's really to blame for a lot of the bad stuff that happens, right? So you and I, Farajii, have talked before about, for instance, how Instagram makes young women feel badly about their bodies and causes them to engage in self-harm. That would not happen if Instagram was prevented legally from collecting data about those young women and then feeding them back information that made them feel worse about themselves, right? So it's not just that we need to keep kids off of technology, because if we do that, then they'll never be able to get a job in a technology-saturated world or communicate with their far-flung friends. Like, there's all kinds of good things about technology. What we need to do is rein in these big tech companies and stop them from trapping us inside of data feedback loops, where they figure out what our vulnerabilities are, and then they target those vulnerabilities with information designed to make us do something that we wouldn't otherwise do. Now, that might mean something simple like buying a pair of shoes we don't need, but it might mean like voting for Donald Trump, which is actually the way that he got into office in 2016, which was through these like targeted disinformation campaigns that were literally aimed at people who were too neurotic to tell the difference between truth and conspiracy theories. Right?
And look, and you know what it makes me think of, Professor? It makes me think of that AI image that was created of Donald Trump and quote unquote his so-called black supporters, and they all laughing and having a moment. And I'm thinking to myself, and it wasn't like the Trump campaign. This is just a follower of his who came up with this image, and it just went viral. And it was like, really, this is, and of course, news and everybody spoke about it. We talked a little bit about it here, but there were a lot of people that saw that and said, oh, he must have did this. They look pretty happy. And I have to say, Professor Jesse, the image looked very convincing. I don't think anybody, AI is getting more and more sharper, and the image looked very convincing.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of this. Obviously, we're heading into election season, right? So these are all concerns that we have, and we need, again, to be vigilant about. I think that, that particular image, while it may have been convincing in some ways, I think there's probably a healthy dose of skepticism about, his connections in the African American community. But I think that there's plenty of misinformation that is not tripping those wires, and that is getting past our defenses. That, again, we are in the election season, right? So if you think a little bit about what you were talking about the long-term consequences of what we're doing. So, for example, Facebook, where we understand now that the product of Facebook is us, right? Understanding us better. Understanding our tendencies, our likes, who we're friends with, what kind of music we listen to, what our political leanings are. All of that becomes a product that Facebook can sell to the highest bidder for advertising. And when you get into now combine that with Citizens United, and you connect to the idea that there is no limit to the speech that political parties can do. Then it was natural for them to want to get into the online advertising business. And hey, there's a company that has a lot of data about us, right? So participating in these activities where sharing photos with your friends or your favorite playlist or whatever, that is harmless on the one hand, but it has longer term consequences, and we see it clearly in these moments like an election where that kind of data can be weaponized, can be used to swing close elections, can be used to encourage people not to vote, for example, to not participate in the political process. All of those things are just important, again, for us to be real about this, that, these are products. This is not just some simple free lunch that we're getting, right? This is it's not a service that we pay for like, others, but we pay, there is a price still. And that price is the level of influence that they have.
Absolutely. The book is called, folks, The Secret Life of Data, Navigating Hype and Uncertainty in the Age of Algorithmic Surveillance. The authors are Aaron Sinwright and Jesse Gilbert. Make sure y'all check them out. This is from MIT Press, as they are having the conversation in a much different way, in a much more in-your-face, down-to-earth understanding of everything from digital surveillance to generative AI to talking about our overall relationship with technology. And we wanted to make sure that we had this conversation here on The Culture. So Jesse, Professor, thank you so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate it.
It's been an honor. Thank you.
Great to be here.
All right, folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come forward, let's switch gears from tech to now hip hop. Let's talk about a major moment in hip hop that happened over the weekend and how it will impact the culture moving forward. I check in with my sister Tasha Love, Music Insider, to give us the latest on the fallout, or rather the feedback around JCole and Kendrick Lamar. And if you don't know who these hip-hop titans are, well, just stick around. We'll have the conversation up next. Plus, I got to tell you what Billy D. Williams had to say as it relates to blackface and how he might be under fire very, very soon. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. As president, I put money in pockets and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
So much for tuning in and being a part of the conversation, folks. Man, oh man, great conversation we just had with Aaron Sinwright and Jesse Gilbert about the secret life of data. Man, oh man, if you missed the conversation, make sure you go check us out, be a part of Team Replay. We would love to hear what you have to say as we have these discussions. But folks, I gotta let you know, we are streaming on so many different spaces and platforms. First, check us out on our home website, theblackstarnetwork.com. Just download the app for free. Follow us on social media at Black Star Network, and we would love to get your support on us as well. We're also streaming on Amazon News on your Fire TV. We're also on Amazon Prime Video, so you can check us out there. On the Prime Video app under Live TV, The News, or find us on Amazon.com under Prime Video, then Live TV, The News. We're also streaming on the Freevee Network, and you can find us on now under News for Freevee, as well as Plex TV, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just search for Black Star Network or find us on the live TV, the news and opinions. Now, we're also streaming on Big Brother Roland Martin's social media pages, on his Facebook page. So big shout out to the online culture crew there. On the X platform, thank you so much, crew, for being there. And on his YouTube channel. And thank you, crew, for being there as well. So if you haven't had a chance to join the chat, now is your time to do so as we have these conversations. All right, now let's switch gears. Let's talk about hip hop. Now, you know, the show is called The Culture, so I got to bring you up to date on what's going on in the culture that inspires the show, which is the hip hop culture. And over the past couple of days, there was a big move that was done. Legendary, as some have called it, as in a recent rap beef. Now, there are beefs happening in rap all the time. But when you have two major artists, such as JCole, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar, all going for it, everybody is trying to figure out, how is this thing going to play out? Well, it is interesting how it did end. I'm going to bring my sister Tasha Love, who's a music insider, together to talk to us about this, because this was major. Tasha, good to have you back again. How you feeling this afternoon?
I feel wonderful. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. You know, you were the first person that came to my mind.
You were the first person that came to my mind.
No, don't say that. Don't say that.
I'm
a blush and I'm dark skinned and it doesn't match well. But you know, I was thinking about this and I was like, I gotta have Tasha on the show to talk about this. I didn't even want to talk about it yesterday because I was like, yo, I want to have her on Tuesday. I want to bring her on Tuesday. Because this was a big moment. Here you have a major artist like JCole, who has come through the ranks and has ascended to the top of the top, putting out some of the most prolific and thought-provoking and some real good, authentic stuff. His content, his music is really, really authentic. His brand is very rooted in being yourself. And then you have an individual like a Kendrick Lamar, who represents, of course, the West Coast. He comes in, and of course, with his classic album, Good City, Mad Kid, and just kind of takes over the industry. Then you have an individual like a Drake, who comes in and he's just got us dancing all the way for the past 15 years that he's been in the industry, moving and shaking. And they all kind of clash. But then when some words were said on one of Drake's songs with Kendrick, with JCole being a feature, saying, and just identifying JCole saying, look, there's only three of us here. We the big three. Kendrick didn't like that. He responded in kind with a diss track. A diss track. People say, oh my gosh, this is going to be it, Tasha. They about to go at it. Kendrick put a little something out there, but in his new album, Might Delete Later, that he released over the weekend, he released it.
Yeah.
But then he said this at a concert. Let's play the video of JCole as he talks about this situation.
Except for one part. It's one part of that shit. That make me feel like, man, that's the lamest shit I ever did in my fucking life, right? And I know this is not what a lot of people want to hear. I know I can hear my niggas up there right now like, nah, don't do that. But I got to keep it 100 with y'all, right? I damn near had a relapse, right? Because y'all heard some shit that happened 2-3 weeks ago, however long it was. Y'all heard that bazooka that was dropped on the motherfucking game, right? So all of this time of me moving on my own accord, for the first time I was tested. Why am I tested? Because I got the world and I got my niggas like, what you gonna do, Cole? My niggas like, boy, I must have had 1,000 missed calls. Oh my fucking God. Text flooded, I couldn't even answer my shit. Nigga, it's wartime, boom, 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 right? Niggas wanna see blood. And I was conflicted because, one, I know my heart, you know what I mean? And like, I know how I feel about my peers, these two niggas that I just been blessed to even stand beside in this game, let alone chase their greatness, right? So I felt conflicted because I'm like, bro, I know I don't really feel no way, but the world want to see blood. I don't know if y'all can feel that, but the world want to see blood. So I say all of that to say, in my spirit of trying to like get this music out, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I moved in a way that I feel spiritually feel bad on me. Like I try to like jab my nigga back and I try to keep it friendly. But at the end of the day, when I listen to it and when it comes out and I see the talk, that shit don't sit right with my spirit. That shit make me feel, that shit disrupts my fucking peace. So what I want to say right here tonight is in the midst of me doing that and in that shit, trying to find a little angle and downplay this nigga's fucking catalog and his greatness, I want to say right now tonight, how many people think Kendrick Lamar is one of the greatest motherfuckers to ever touch a fucking microphone? Dreamville, y'all love Kendrick Lamar, correct? As do I. So I just want to come up here and be like, publicly be like, bruh, that was the lamest, like, goofiest shit. And I say all that to say, it made me feel like 10 years ago when I was moving incorrectly. And I pray that God align me back up on my purpose and on my path. You know what I mean? I pray that my nigga really didn't feel no way. And if he did, my nigga, I got my chin out. Take your best shot. I'm gonna take that shit on the chin, boy. Do what you do. You know what I mean? Like, all good. Like, it's love. And I pray that, y'all are like, forgive a nigga for like the misstep and then I can get back to my true path. Cause I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Past 2 days felt terrible. Like, it let me know how good I've been sleeping for the past 10 years.
Wow.
Right.
Now, of course, that was the unedited version. That was JCole. Tasha, I want to get your first response to that now, and then we're going to go into it more after the break. But what did you hear from JCole on that?
I'm so glad you asked. First of all, the first thing that came to mind is how grown man of him to acknowledge that this was something that he did under 100% peer pressure, right? And this is from his peers, his team, his management group, among others, that forced him, I'm going to say forced, and when I say forced, I mean energetically. They put this perspective in his head that this was something that he had to respond to. And he said it when he was on stage. He said, yo, my boys looked at me and was like, so what you gonna do? And isn't that the battle that we face consistently within the hip hop industry? It's always like, oh, there's a diss. Oh my gosh, we gotta come back. It's been time and time again, from UTFO to Roxanne Shante, then the real Roxanne. I mean, it goes on and on and on, from
right.
LL, and then you have little, Kumo D. This is hip hop, right? But the only difference with J. Cole's perspective is that he actually said, I lost sleep for a few days and it didn't feel good to me. And I want to acknowledge that this wasn't something that I should have done. And I realized that in hindsight, and I can really respect him for this move. This is a move that is going to live for eternity online, in hip hop, in print, because of course the New York Times addressed it. Anything that's in the New York Times, that's gonna live on forever. I'm in the New York Times.
You made it, baby.
That's right. I mean, once I got printed in the New York Times, I was like, okay, pop my collar, it's on. But now we are really talking about a grown man who has made the decision to not carry forward a hip hop beef, but to squash it in real time. And the response has been 100% explosive.
This right here, we got to take a quick pause. But I'm gonna be honest with you, Tasha. I am still processing the impact that this will make on the music and the industry, right? And you've been a music insider for years.
Yeah.
And as much as this sounds good to us, the consumers, I know the people in the record companies and the industry are like, God, because we're waiting.
Yeah, we're waiting, but there's a silver lining that I know we're going to talk about. And so I'll wait till we come back on the other side.
Let's do it. Folks, I'm checked in with my sister, music insider Tasha Love, as we talk about the impact of Kendrick Lamar publicly admitting that he regrets going into any type of beef with his fellow peer, Kendrick, JCole regretting with his fellow peer, Kendrick Lamar, and the impact it has. Many of you might be, oh, well, why are we talking about this? This is a major turning point in hip-hop music, folks.
Yeah.
Major turning point. We'll continue to talk about it on the other side. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. He stoked racial violence, attacked voting rights, and if reelected, vowed to be a dictator and, quote, get revenge. We can't go back. As president, I put money in pockets, creating millions of new jobs, and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney, and if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister and music insider, Tasha Love, as we talk about JCole regretting his any type of diss towards fellow artist Kendrick Lamar. He made a public statement just a few days ago, just talking about how it just didn't sit with his spirit to go at his brother, because he still got love and respect and admiration for his brother. He came up in the hip hop industry with his brother, with him being on one side and Kendrick being on the other in terms of the coast. And it just didn't sit well. And Tasha, this was, I think this was, everybody keeps saying this was bigger than rap. This, in a time where we see so much division, especially between black men, in a time where we are at a crossroads, where we're like, you know what? How many times are we going to put ourselves out there, be at odds at one another, and we don't reap the real benefits of it? We're not gaining in this whole process. And you know it, like probably more than anybody know it, that when beefs happen, we can go back to, of course, the infamous and classic East Coast, West Coast beef, how that generated sales of music, that got the conversation started. I mean, everybody was talking about it, Biggie and Tupac and Shug and Puffy and all of that stuff. And
Right.
now we're at a different point. And I can remember beef just in the commercial break. I was just thinking like, damn, we had a lot of little different skirmishes and beefs over these past couple of years.
Yeah.
We had Jay-Z and Nas. We had right now we're looking at, you know, Meek Mill and Drake. We've seen that situation. I mean, we've had all of these beefs and this whole process. So what do you make from this?
Well, first of all, you mean Drake and everybody.
Oh yeah, Drake versus everybody, right?
Drake is at war with everybody, even Rihanna. I mean, unproblematic. And then not only that, but you could even look at what they tried to do between Monica and Brandy. I mean, there is a methodical madness really to the music industry because it all equals sales, right? But the thing that you said the most that was poignant to me, because it came to me immediately, although JCole was born in Germany, he then came to North Carolina, got to, of course, St. John's University, where he graduated magna cum laude. But then you have Kendrick Lamar, who's on the West Coast. But they ended up on the XXL freshman issue together alongside a slew of upcoming artists, including Nipsey Hussle. So when we start to talk about them coming up together, we really are looking at them graduating, getting into the game together. And one of the things that really sticks out to me is that they have come through the ranks together. And going back to what you said about the big three, we're talking about Drake, K-Dot, Kendrick Lamar, and of course, JCole. Well, it was really them linking up to say, you know what, we're all kind of on the same vibe. We get along, you get along, I like you. Okay, cool. We got the kind of, you know, same rap style. We could all really flow together. However, JCole then on one of those songs talked about how, yes, the big three, but I'm Muhammad Ali. That got a little personal when you're rapping with Drake and K-Dot, right? So Kendrick Lamar is like, what you mean you the Muhammad Ali? Because we all know Muhammad Ali is, I'm the greatest. There is no more. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
But if we think about it, that's all that hip hop really is, right? It is you claiming the throne. And whether it be the king of New York or king of LA or the Midwest, wherever you're from, we still have to realize that you got to speak it into existence, really manifestation, right? So Jay-Z thought he's the greatest. Nas thought he was the greatest. Big thought he was the greatest. Puffy thought he was the greatest. But now you have K-Dot and Kendrick Lamar and JCole coming in, both saying that we're the greatest. I'm the greatest, but we're on the same team. So with that said, Kendrick Lamar releases Control. And on Control, he's like, yo, F the big three. Basically, he's like, you know, I'm it's just me. And so JCole.
Oh, you mean like that? Like, the one that he did with Future, like that.
Right. So JCole is like, okay, what's that about? You know what I'm saying? So they have a private conversation. And he's like, I'm feeling some kind of way. And but you have to go back. This spans years. They've been sparring at each other for years, although standing on the same stage. We still have to acknowledge this is still hip hop. Hip hop is battling, right? But at some point in time, you're gonna say something that's gonna cut deep with somebody, and they're gonna be like, "Yo, son, I was just playing." You know what I mean? And then it becomes, exactly. And then it becomes real, and now it has become real to where JCole feels as though his response to Kendrick Lamar's Control was more personal, and for that he apologized because he feels as though this is not who I am. You know, I don't want to spar against my friend. But then you have people like, yo, this is hip hop. You know, this is what hip hop is. But he's like, but that's my brother. You know, he's not heavy. That's my brother. And so that's where the conflict really comes from.
But I think that it also opens up the door, Tasha, for us to have different conversations about how we relate to one another. You're talking about that level of maturity and self-awareness. You're talking about just the simple fact that a man can say, look, man, I don't want no smoke. I don't want no trouble, right? And of course, hip hop culture, it breeds this level of hyper masculinity that I think that is so pervasive in our, you know, I can remember, you know, 50 Cent was the definition of hyper masculinity to me when he dropped Get Rich or Die Trying.
Right.
You know, that level of manhood. But now we're in a different phase of what it means to be a man. And it's not just about the music. It's about what it means to be a man in an industry that wants to profit off of your ignorance.
Correct.
And so what we're seeing now is consciousness. What we're seeing with this particular moment is, hey, this is an opportunity for me to switch gears up on what we've been used to, and more importantly, to point out the fact that we want to do something different. That Black men, we can be competitive. We can be, you know, steel sharpen steel, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to disrespect you or degrade you or humiliate you or embarrass you just for some claps or some likes or even, you know, a little payday at the end. And I think that speaks volumes about his maturity as a person and as an artist. And I'm sure Kendrick would probably like, damn. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn.
Well, you know,
like,
we could really, we are in a different time from 50 Cent's How to Rob, right? On 50 Cent's How to Rob, he robbed everybody in the industry, and it was kind of like his introduction into music, where he robbed Jay-Z. He robbed everybody from the East Coast, West Coast, Mid Coast, whatever. And that was a lyrical play, right? That was hip hop. But the thing that makes this so particularly personal between the big three, Drake, K-Dot, and JCole, is that they really are boys. And I think, first of all, we need to recognize that Drake is a little sensitive, right? We know that he's sensitive about his relationships.
Wait a minute, you say, hey, Tasha, you said it like Drake don't put out no emo albums. We a little sensitive.
I mean, if we're going to keep it real in the culture.
He is sensitive to an extent, but then he always wants to put on this mob guy type of, which.
Well, and that's the new thing. That's the new thing. We're kind of seeing a gangster Drake kind of creep out. I mean, the first diss to K-Dot, you know, he recorded, and when I say he, I mean Drake recorded one of his videos in Compton. Okay, Kendrick Lamar is from LA. Okay, that's a little bit disrespectful, right? But if we're going to keep it in the realm of hip hop and say, okay, that's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to step in their territory and you're supposed to be like, I'm here, what's up? The only thing that makes this different with JCole is that JCole and Kendrick Lamar really had a friendship. He would pop up at his album signings. They had plotted to, I'm hoping that this is the silver lining, that, you know, they really were working on an album together. I think that there may have been creative differences. I think there was people in their ear. K-Dot started winning all these awards. Drake was just getting like fan favorite, whereas Kendrick Lamar was winning Grammys for, you know, best new artist. I mean, he got best lyricist. JCole wasn't winning.
He won a Pulitzer. One of a crew members saying, right. Official Sanika, you said, what's really beef to someone who won a Pulitzer for music?
So people are in their feelings right now. It's like, let me coddle the baby. And so, but that is the level of hip hop and greatness that all artists aspire to. So when one gets there before the other and they're all neck and neck, you know, it's like when you go to the carnival and you're all racing the little horses and you're trying to see who's going to win. This is what's happening in hip hop. The only thing is that there are still feelings involved. JCole, we have to understand, JCole is a different kind of hip hop artist, right? You know, we want to say, oh, he's soft, he rides the bike around New York. So what? To me, he saved on money from buying a Bugatti. Why does he have to flash around like, you know, the other artists that are, you know, they may pimp from their Maybach on a music video where he's like, yo, this is my bike. I'm chilling. You know, I got to get from point A to point B. Gas is expensive. What's the problem with that? People find that to be soft. And I think that that's the problem. Just because you apologize to one of your boys, one of your friends, and we have to think that they're both parents. They're both setting the standard for how their children are going to be raised in this environment when they're dealing with other people that they call their friends. Their kids were probably like, Daddy, why you dissing Uncle K? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
like, we don't know what that's about. But at the end of the day, I'm not mad at him, although there are several people, there are several bloggers, there are several hip hop industry people who feel like, oh, he's soft because he's apologized. Yo, this is hip hop. What happened to hip hop? You know what? There can be a significant calm in the waters in hip hop where everybody gets acknowledged for their own individual craft, as opposed to having to go and throw salt in somebody else or on somebody else or in that wound. However, we do need a space of healing in hip hop. And I think back to and really wonder, what if Biggie and Tupac talk to each other like this?
Oh, it would have made a difference. Hey, one classic example of this, as we take our next pause, one classic example is we saw two titans going back, heavyweights going at it years ago. Jay-Z, Nas, they had a couple of, both of them.
Bow down.
But guess what? Even at that stage, those two black men realized this can't get off wax. At this stage, and some of people in the chat right now are like upset that we're even having a conversation about this, because they're like, well, why are we even talking about this?
Oh, well, because it's hip hop.
This is hip hop. Let me tell you, but look, I was watching a documentary over the weekend from Vice, and they were talking about the year of 1989, and it was talking about how hip hop was so prevalent. Of course, they had Chuck D and other voices, Arsenio Hall on it. But then it talked about how hip hop was always this underground energy, this underground music, this movement, right? That captured the ears of young people. And I think it's important that as you and I and others have grown up as hip hop children, right? We grew up under this culture, that we should always be able to look at the current culture, because that's the current culture that's shaping the thinking of the next generation of young people. That even as we get older, I can't act as if, oh man, that black children aren't listening to, I don't know, Lil Baby, Lil Yachty, to this person, that person. You know what I'm saying? You have your son at 10 years old. My son is 10 years old.
That's right.
And they're going to be influenced, right? How they're seeing this work. And so we have a responsibility. I think we have a responsibility as people, as consumers, but we more have a responsibility because we have spaces and a mic in front of us, and we have platforms to say, you know what, let's make sure that this culture doesn't become even more destructive. There's so much that's already in the culture, from misogyny to violence to all types of behaviors that are being advocated. And so, we do need to have a conversation when vulnerability, when brotherhood or sisterhood is being expressed, because at the end of the day, this is still our culture.
That's right. And not only
this is still our culture. And I don't care what nobody say, hip hop has brought a high level of consciousness to black people in this country, unlike any other genre of music. A lot of us didn't get conscious until we heard a Chuck D or KRS-One or Rakim. We didn't get conscious until we heard some of these men and these women who have been voices. They're not just telling about what's going on in the ghettos, but they're also giving us some insight, some light as to how we can overcome this. And it's a very, very powerful medium. Tasha, I got to take another quick pause. When we come back, let's continue the conversation. Plus, I'm going to share with you folks what Billy D. Williams had to say about blackface and how he might be under fire very, very soon. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. As president, I put money in pockets and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Black Star Network is here.
no punch.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister, music insider Tasha Love. Tasha, talking a little hip-hop. All right, let's switch gears a little bit, Tasha, because, you know a little something about the culture. Just a little something.
Kenya.
Yeah, just a little something. Let's switch gears from talking about these youngsters to talk about these old heads, where legendary actor Billy D. Williams has been maybe not. I mean, haven't seen too much controversy, but he's been saying some very interesting things in these recent book tour that he's doing. He's having his release of his memoir, What Have We Here? Portraits of a Life. That was dropped in February. So he's been kind of on this media tour of this situation. But in a new interview with Club Random with Bill Maher, that was released over the weekend, he revealed that he believes actors should do anything that they want, including donning blackface in performances. Now, if y'all remember the history of blackface, that was the offensive act that white performers did years ago before Black people were even able to perform publicly. And it was often contextualized as minstrel show practices of white actors, where they use paint, burnt cork, shoe polish, etc. They emphasize the size of their lips to incorrectly and stereotypically portray Black characters, and all in the while of dehumanizing Black history and Black people as a whole. What do you make of this, Tasha?
Okay, first
what
of all,
are we seeing from it? Why are you laughing?
Well, you know what? Because I watched the interview in its entirety. The first thing he said is he pulled out his medication and he said, "I didn't take my medication today." Okay, that's one, because he is an 87-year-old man. And first of all, he's an icon, but we don't know that medication, we don't know what that medication is for, okay? We don't know if it's for his cognitive abilities. We don't know if it's for diabetes. We don't know what that's for. However, but what we do know is that I imagine that his PR person was standing behind the camera like, no. Like, cut. And I say that because when you listen throughout the interview with Bill Maher on the Random Show, that what he does not want to do throughout the interview is discuss race. Every time Bill Maher brought up race, he was like, no, I don't want to talk about race. Why do you live in that space? Why are you here? Which tells me that he has not reconciled within himself about the racial issues that we go through. One of the things that Bill Maher asked him was like, okay, so what do you identify as, as an African-American artist? He was like, no, I'm half Indian. Like, so to me already, he's already coming like, no, don't deem me as African-American. Listen, I've got Portuguese in my family. I've got Black people in my family. I've got Indian in my family. But guess what? I'm Black. You know why? Because this is what society deems me as, and it's what I was raised as. So I'm not going to say, oh, only take one piece of me. So with that, automatically, he sees in his eyesight, and he said this throughout, it really is how you look at, everything that you were raised as from a child. He said that, what is your perspective? He called his own grandmother a bigot. And then he talked about Jewish people. He talked about, oh, but I'm Jew, or something he said about Jewish people. So to him, he really is. I don't mean this disrespectfully, because I consider Billy D. Williams an icon. When I met him, I introduced my mother to him. He was very kind. He came into my office. I thought he was extremely polite, but had I known that this was his thought process, I probably would have carried the conversation a little deeper. And I would have said, hey, listen, we need to have a conversation about blackface, because at the end of the day, it was traumatic for our culture and it was incorrect. Yet he praises the artists that were performing in blackface. And he even said he laughed when he saw the portrayal of a particular artist. It escapes my name. The name escapes me right now, but he says that, you know, this particular artist thought that the character in blackface should have looked like Paul Robeson. So he tooted his butt out because Black people have big butts. I say all this to say he's an 87-year-old man living in a time warp. For whatever reason, he does not think that he is considered African American. I think that his publicist is probably on damage control right now.
I mean, damage control. I remember when he was on The View, and I think the sister Sunny Hostin, he was kind of had a little exchange with her. When the book first dropped, and she was like, you know, as a Black man, and just a normal journalistic moment. He's like, oh, no, I'm brown.
And he means that, but we also have to remember the people that he hung out with.
I get that, but you know, but see, here's why I think this is important. This is important because for the culture and for who he is and what he represents, Billy D. Williams, for many, many years. And my mom told me a really funny story years ago, how she met him, because my mother used to be a flight attendant, and she met him, and he was flirting with my mom.
Because he liked Black women.
So I may not have been here unless my mom had made a different decision.
Okay, Mom.
But the fact is that he is an iconic man who represents Black excellence. He was that guy. Yeah. He was, when he was at the prime of his, and even now, I mean, he's still in a lot of big projects and whatnot, but it just seems so silly that you 87 years old, and we're going to take our next pause in a moment, but you're 87 years old, and as a Black man, you still can't say, well, look, I'm a Black man, or yes, this is my people, or yeah, like, come on, bro, like, and I get it. Okay, maybe it's the meds. But then I'm going back to the point you just made, Tasha. It could just simply be the fact that you have not reconciled with that you have lived in Hollywood, this bubble, so long that people treat you one way, but you're not thinking about the treatment of your people being another way because you're just so insulated and in a bubble. And it's, when I see older Black people like that, it's sad. There's a saying, I'm sure you probably heard this, Tasha. You use the term elders, and then you use the term old. Billy D. Williams right now, you sounding old.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to let you go to break because I got a response for that. And I agree with you. So I don't want to run over in time, but
no, let's do it. Let's take a quick pause. When we come back, let's continue and get some final remarks from Tasha. And plus, I'm going to raise up some comments that you said, crew. Stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
As bad as Trump was, his economy was worse, and Black America felt it the most. He cut health insurance while giving tax breaks to the wealthy and big business. As president, I put money in pockets and capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. There's a lot more to do, but we can do it together.
Fanbase is pioneering a new era of social media and investment. This next generation social app has already raised $10 million and has just opened a new round to invest. For details on how to invest, visit startengine.com/fanbase or scan the QR code. Another way we're giving you the freedom to be you without limits.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back to The Culture here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Farajii Muhammad, joined by my sister, music insider Tasha Love, as we talk about some of the latest controversial statements from legendary actor and icon Billy D. Williams, 87-year-old Billy D. We should throw some pictures up there of Billy D. Williams, man. I'm serious. You know, it's sad. It's really sad, man, when you see somebody going into a space and God willing, you know, Tasha, when we get to that age, we still have our senses and faculties and, you know, don't lose sight of who we are and where we come from. You know what I mean? Because this is really, really sad. So he made some statements, of course, saying that he doesn't mind actors donning blackface. But then he even gets further into the moment where he talks about, you know, this idea when Bill Maher pressed him on it and say, well, you can't do blackface in a time like now today. It would be considered, you know, offensive.
Insulting.
And insulting. Billy D. Williams responds, why? Actors should do it. If you're an actor, you should do anything you want to do.
Listen.
With all due respect, he said the point. He went on to say, the point is you don't go through life feeling like I'm a victim. I refuse to go through life saying to the world, I'm pissed off. I'm not going to be pissed off 24 hours a day. I'm not asking you to be pissed off, Mr. Williams. What we're simply asking is that you acknowledge, that you keep in mind that, you know what, this is an offensive. Blackface, you can't redraw that. You know what I'm saying? You can't just be like, you know what, I'm going to recontextualize this racist act and now black people can do blackface. Can you imagine if a black man tries to go around as a white man?
Listen, first things that we have to deal with is recognize that Billy D. Williams came up in a time where he had to hide who he really was. Okay, right. So let's acknowledge that. And in him hiding his blackness, in an effort to get the roles that he desired, Star Wars, you know, all of that, he really need to come in like, oh, I don't see color. I'm an actor. Ha ha, he he. I laugh at your racial jokes. That's what it comes across as opposed to taking a political stance as some of the other actors that have come out during his time frame. He came out and was a poignant, and when I say was, I mean during the time of civil rights, he had a voice. Did he use it? No, he didn't. He stayed silent and played the parts that he was paid to play. He wasn't out on, marching in D.C. with Muhammad Ali and the other actors that were with Dr. Martin Luther King. He chose to play it safe. And he's telling us to his face, to our faces, this is what I believe. And at this point in time, like Maya said, we need to believe him. You know, he played it safe. We can't blame him for that. However, I see him as the artist saying, you gonna let my arm fall off? I mean, even when Florence introduced herself, it was like, wait, let me go change my hair. You know, in the Jefferson.
Right.
He was our black actor when he needed to be. But when he needed to represent our culture, he's telling us that he didn't because he didn't see a problem with it. And can we really fault him for that? This is the way that he was raised. And that's just, it is what it is.
I get it though, Tasha.
But I'm upset I want to make it known to him that I am upset. He had the opportunity to take this stance, especially with speaking with Bill Maher, who tells us on a constant, you know, what we as Black folks need and where we come from and what we ought to do. He had the opportunity and he missed it. He had the opportunity to say, I disagree that actors should have used blackface. However, that's my stance is they have to do what they have to do in order to get the role that they want. But we need to raise our level of consciousness. So I'm a little bit disrespected. I feel disrespected by that. And especially because he's one of the greats.
And I feel a little embarrassed, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Because he was so iconic in a lot of those Black productions, those Black TV, Black movies and stuff. He was the guy. Now, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I mean, the Colt 45, I mean, he was the face of the malt liquor. I mean, I guess you got to do what you got to do, but and trust me, this ain't just about Billy D. Williams pushing malt liquor. I just don't like, that's a whole different conversation. But they
hired him, but stop, pause. They hired him because he was a Black man and he pushed the malt liquor. So we can't ignore that.
Colt 45 would not be what it is today. Come on. I mean, Colt 45 would not be what it is today without Billy D. Williams.
It would not.
It would not be what it is today without Billy D. Williams. All right, let me go to the crew. Crew, y'all said you don't like my music. If you don't see color, then you shouldn't discuss racism. Let me just say this, and I agree with you on that. You don't like my music, but I think that's one of the silliest things I've ever heard people say. I don't see color.
You lying.
You're lying. Lying. Because this is you mean to tell me in modern day America, that you don't see the person's color, you don't recognize privilege. Let me tell y'all why that's phony. Right. Go into some of the most influential white neighborhoods in wherever city or town you in and try to do some wild stuff in that neighborhood.
Or just try to shop. Color. Just try to shop. Just try to shop. You don't even have to
some of that areas. I'm in LA.
Go to a store.
You can't just walk around in certain neighborhoods without being stopped. They see color.
Well, you can't deliver mail. You can't barbecue in the park.
Look, you can't go into some of them neighborhoods unless you have a damn jacket that says post office, Amazon. You gotta have some sort of identifying gear to be in certain neighborhoods. And
it doesn't even matter if we have the identifying gear. Our skin is the identifying gear.
I mean, I'm with you right there, Tasha. I'm with you right there. Official Sanika, Billy D was born in the 30s. He should be ashamed of himself.
He should be. I agree with her.
Yeah. Let me see here. Brian Christian, you say, Billy was supposed to be the Two-Face in Tim Burton's Batman 3 movie. That wasn't made, but there's a book version of it. Yeah, absolutely. Janae, you say, I saw him on a book tour, and he feels like an artist should get the part regardless of race. He still feels some kind of way about his role in Star Wars with that fame and not getting other parts after. Absolutely. Hollywood sees color.
That's right. That's why he hasn't been getting more
industry that you're a part of, they see color. And you mean to tell me at 87 years old, and this is so bad because I'm not trying to even, I'm feeling JCole's spirit right now. Like, it's useless. I'm serious. It's useless to try to go in and go hard and slam Billy D. Williams. Mr. Williams, I ain't even trying to do that. You're 87 years old, sir. You did what you're supposed to do for the culture, but in these sunset years, it's not even worth it. It's not worth it.
But you know what? We're learning until the day we die, right? You mean to tell me that he has no loved ones around him to tell him that he's wrong or to educate him? My dad educates me. I educate my dad, as do I with my mother. If my mother and I disagree about something, we talk about it. If my brothers and I disagree about something, we discuss it and we get each other's perspective. So same thing with my girlfriends, Takia, Deshelle, Marsha, everybody else, Donna. When we have conversations, we see each other's point of view and we move forward from there. We don't ignore it. We acknowledge it and we have a full discussion about it. And if a mind is changed, we could at least say, you know what? I appreciate your opinion on that. And I see your perspective. Nobody in his family is saying, look, Unc, there's a new age, a new time. I hear what you're saying. However, you are not 100% Cherokee. You are, in fact, even if you're Cherokee, your skin is brown and they view you as a black man. And we need to have a different discussion. Just because you're 87 doesn't mean that you get let off the hook. It does mean that we need to monitor your vitals and we need to consider another form of education for you if you don't understand where we are at this very moment in time, especially as it relates to race relations with Trump running for president.
See, I said that I wasn't going to go in, but Tasha will. Tasha Love will.
I mean, it's a culture, man. This is who we are.
Look. I didn't want to. I mean, but that's why I got her. That's why I got Tasha Love on today, y'all. Because I didn't want to go in, but you're right.
I'm here for you.
Everything you just said is absolutely correct, and I think that this should be, as we close out, this should be a situation that a lot of older black folks, not just people in Hollywood, just in general.
Yeah.
Just in general, right? Like, we should never get to a point, and I hope and pray that God doesn't put me in this position where I'm comfortable with just the confines, the boundaries, the limitations, the labels that society put on me.
Yeah.
That at every year of my life, I'm breaking through something to change how people see me, and I'm redefining myself, evolving itself without losing myself.
That's right.
Without losing myself. Tasha Love, my sister, Music Insider. Tasha, you know what? You keep going in like this, you're gonna have a segment.
Well, listen.
I gotta bring you back on. So let's continue to have the conversation. My sister Tasha. Tasha, how can folks find you on social media?
You know what? I created something just for the culture audience. You can find me on Instagram at On Air with Tasha Love. And I'm right there waiting for you guys. Come on through.
There it is right there. Tasha Love, one of the great music insiders that we have. And she's a great contributor, bringing a lot of new insight to this conversation. So Tasha, thank you so much for being so good for the culture.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that's going to do it for me. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation. Make sure y'all do your due diligence. Support us at Black Star Network. Go to our website today at blackstarnetwork.com. Download the app for free and follow us on social media. We would love to connect with you. Stay tuned. Up next at 6 p.m. is Roland Martin Unfiltered. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk to on Thursday for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.